All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Look, far too long, we have relied on social media algorithms to grow our businesses. But what happens when the algorithm changes? What happens when your reach suddenly drops? Look, it's about mindset shift. And that's one of the moves that I'm making tonight publicly. Publicly, I'm going to share some things, and I want to be real transparent with you and tell you that this tonight's presentation, the mindset shifts, and a lot of the work that I'm doing today are born out of a sense of frustration. I know you're feeling it too. I've been hearing it from a number of people who are also feeling frustrated when it comes to social media, when it comes to just digital marketing in general. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. And if it's you, if you're feeling that sense of frustration too, then you are in the right place. But I'm going to help us to do the woo-saw and transform our minds a little bit so that we can see the benefits and the power of being on social, but also recognize that it's time for us to take back control. That's the focus. That's the focus of tonight. So, what I want you to learn tonight is to learn how to own your audience, how to create evergreen assets, and how to automate your content strategy so that you can build a business that lasts. Now, of course, my primary audience tends to be coaches and other service providers, but some of you who have been in my community, have been in my audience before, I know that you may not necessarily have a specific coaching brand, and maybe you're doing something else in the field of service, but you too have something to sell, and you know that what you have to say is worth an investment of time, energy, and in some cases, cash. And if that's you, again, this is the right place because I want to talk a little bit about our frustrations, but I also want to give you some potential solutions. You know, I'm not one of those people that likes to complain and sit here and talk about how things are just so horrible, although there are scenarios where that is the truth. But I also want to talk about solutions and how do we bring ourselves up out of ashes and make sure that we're on a track for success. And so that's what we're here to talk about tonight. So I haven't introduced the show, but I'm going to go ahead and do that really quickly before we dive into our main content. I want to welcome you to Stream Like a Boss TV. My name is Tanya Smith. This is where we are transforming live streams and podcasts from crickets to cash. We're going to build content that converts, but it does not conform. If you've been to the show before, you're family. So if you've seen us before, I want you to type in hashtag OG. And if this is your very first time, I want to welcome you with a hashtag newbie. So type in hashtag newbie if you're brand new to the show, to Stream Like a Boss TV, and hashtag OG if you've been here before. Now, what I'm going to do is a couple of quick things. First of all, I want to double check and make sure that we are live and broadcasting. I think I see a few people there. So say hello. Let me know that you're in the chat. I'm double checking to make sure my comments and reactions are working. And if they're not working in the dashboard, then I'm going to go over to a couple of other places to see your comments so that I can make sure I pull them up on screen. Now, I did do an update. Sometimes when we do an update, specifically Ecamm has done a major update recently. Sometimes I've noticed I'm not able to see comments and to pull them up on screen. So if that's the case, I want to kind of double check that. So put something in there and let me know. I'm going to head over to my YouTube channel real quick and just double check to make sure. I see. Okay. You know what? My buddy, Cast Ahead Chris Stone, just popped up. So I see that he is here in the house. Wonderful. So that lets me know that our comments are working. Thank you very, very much, sir, for letting me know. I appreciate you as always. Okay. Hashtag newbie, hashtag OG. Whether you're joining me live, whether you're watching the replay, or you're catching this on the vodcast, I'm so super excited that you're here. I'm glad you're here. And I hope to learn from you and from your comments and your questions in the chat as much as you learn from me tonight. If you have ever been frustrated by engagement on social media, I want you to drop a fire emoji and let me know if that's you too. And while we're transitioning, I'm going to do a super short video this time. Normally it's a little bit longer. I'm going to do a super short video, but I want you to go ahead and grab your favorite hydration. I got my water here. Grab your notepad and grab your pen, because we're going to talk about 6 mindset shifts. So we might run a little bit longer than we normally do tonight. And you can always come back and catch the replay if you miss anything. But I have written these down literally based on experiences that I've had over the past couple of years, in addition to just hearing frustrations from a number of my different clients, and then recognizing that we all have a choice, because we do. All right. So I'm going to see you on the other side of this short video. Make sure you go ahead and put in #newbie or #OG. Let me know where you're from. And we'll see you on the other side, where we're going to talk about mindset shifts to take you from being platform dependent to platform proof. Okay? All right. All right. So once again, I'm Tanya Smith here, and this is Stream Like a Boss TV. And as I talked about a few seconds ago, one of the things that we want to do tonight is to deliver to you some information and some what we call 6 mindset shifts to help you to go from being platform dependent when it comes to social media to being platform proof. And so social media platforms change all the time, and we know that if your business relies on them, you're going to always be at risk. Just know this, okay? But if you're a creator, if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, if you're any type of service provider, you do not have to rely on the platforms. You can build the right systems to maintain success, okay? So today's mindset shifts are going to help you to own your audience and future-proof your business, work smarter, not harder, by repurposing your content. We're going to talk about that. And focus on real business growth, not just the likes and the follows. So you're going to learn how to own your audience. You're going to learn why, or the importance of evergreen assets, as well as some of the other things that I mentioned. But again, I'm super excited that I get to talk about this, because I've written this out. It's something that I'm experimenting with myself purely because I'm tired. And I don't know if this is you. If this is you, if you feel like, you know what, it seems like I'm just grinding and I'm putting out content and I just can't get the visibility that I want, or I can't get the results that I want. And I'm ready to stop, right? I've been in that place with you. And not that long ago, which is what led me to start doing more research, which is what led me to really kind of do a deeper dive into research and to understand what is it that we're going through. Honestly, I feel like it's just the sense of content overwhelm and burnout. Like, we're required to do so many things. The minute we get the hang of a particular platform, I'm going to give an example. You know what it is. You might be on Facebook right now watching. That's one of the platforms where they're constantly shifting and changing the rules. And just when you think you have the rules down, something else changes, something else is new. And you feel that you're at the mercy, and that your business visibility is at the mercy of their changes. I know Mari Smith calls it the marionette, the meta marionette. Well, I don't want to be a puppet. That's never been on my bingo card. It's never been something that I wanted to do. And so I want to make sure that we position ourselves in such a way that we feel the freedom and the independence and the choice that we truly have, because it is all a mind thing. It's all a mental thing. It's a psychological thing, y'all, that we have allowed ourselves to be trained to be held hostage by these platforms. So I'm going to give you some shifts, and I actually have some slides tonight versus typing it all out inside of the presentation, but I'm going to walk you through these 6 shifts. And I'm also going to ask you a couple of questions. If you have questions for me, go ahead and pop those into the chat. If there's a comment because there's something that really resonates and hits you just the right way, put that into the chat as well. I want to hear from you, okay? All right, let's dive in, and we'll talk about number 1. If you are ready to get started, go ahead and type in the word ready. And I'm going to pop up the next screen, and we will dive in with step or tip number 1. This is mindset shift number 1. All right. The first mindset shift is this, that I want you to consider how you can go from being platform dependent to being an audience owner. When you shift your mindset from being a renter of land on social to an owner of your content and your audience, there are significant things that will change. You keep in mind that you don't own anything on your social media platforms. It frankly is someone else's property. Therefore, you don't get to make the rules. You do have to abide by the rules in order to actually be seen, to keep your posts up. And look, sometimes you abide by the rules, you're doing all the right things, and it still gets taken down. These are things that are beyond our control because of the fact that we're seeing ourselves as being on these platforms and being held hostage. Instead, I want you to shift that mindset to being an owner mindset, having an owner mentality, and recognizing that you can own your audience through platforms such as email lists. Look, Liz Wilcox this week is doing a whole list building extravaganza. If you missed it, I don't know if it's too late now to register, but it was a free event, and she's had some amazing speakers that have been talking about growing your email list. When you have an email list that you can communicate with, that is part of the ownership mentality. That is something that Meta, LinkedIn, Pinterest, any of those other social platforms don't have control over, because you're building that space. You're collecting those emails and that information, and you're protecting and preserving it, of course, and nurturing this list, because this is the audience that you own, that you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into creating. And so when you have your email service provider that you're using, that you're paying on a monthly basis or maybe annual basis, having the mindset that you are an owner, it reinforces the importance of you doing that. So email lists. Additionally, communities. So if you haven't already thought about creating a community for yourself beyond some of the platforms, I know a lot of people are into Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups and you name it, right? But again, remember, and I'll give you an example of something that just really, really bothered me. This was a few years ago, and it was one of the reasons that led to me letting go of my group on Facebook. That is that I had created this amazing crowdsourced resource list. It was a list of different resources that would help people to do better video marketing. And it wasn't just my ideas, but I was having people add to the list. And so this Google Doc was out there in files inside of our group, and it was shared, and everybody was loving that we got to add to it, and it would, be updated, and it was useful. It was high value content. And one day it just disappeared. Just disappeared. And at the time, back then, before I had an ownership mentality, because I had a renter's land mentality myself, right? At the time, I had not created this document off the platform. I had created it. It was back when we were able to create those lengthy notes, those docs inside of Facebook groups. I had created it in there. So that was the original. That was where everything was. And part of it from a convenience standpoint was I thought, okay, this is super convenient because it's in this central place where we all have access. I don't have to give people access to something else like a Google Doc or whatever, but we're all in the same group. Why not? What could we be doing wrong when we're sharing these resources with each other and using them to grow our businesses? But Facebook had a different idea. Their idea was they didn't like it for whatever the reason was. I never to this day have figured out what the reason was, but it was removed and I literally had to start from scratch. And at that time, that was one of my first inklings that, you know what? I won't build anything of permanence here. I need to be nimble and to be able to move when I'm ready to move. I need to make sure that I start thinking like an owner. And I still wasn't fully there yet, y'all, to be honest with you, because I still was like, but it's so great that I can create this group here and I've got all these features and these tools and all these. We become reliant upon what they are giving us to use. But again, keeping in mind that you are renting the space. You don't own it. So they get to say who sees your content. They get to say what content stays up and what goes. And while I am broadcasting live in multiple places right now, I can also tell you this. I'm also maintaining a copy or retaining a copy or original of my own video. So what I'm sharing with you right now will not be lost in social space. It is on my own properties as well. It's going into my local drive. So Ecamm is allowing me the ease of being able to do that while I'm also broadcasting to Facebook, YouTube, etc., LinkedIn, right? So that if any of those platforms says, hey, we're going to delete your video after 30 days. Heard that one recently, right? Doesn't matter because I own my own content. So I see Mr. Hicks in the house. What's up? Love that analogy. Got to own it. Yes, we must. So starting an email list, building a private community, and engaging with your audience even off of social media is super critical. Make sure you're thinking about how you can do all three of those things and move yourself from a dependence mindset and a renter's mindset to becoming an owner. Start thinking like an owner. This is whether or not you have a business, whether or not you're selling anything. The fact is your content should be your content. Okay. I want you to drop an own it if you're ready to take control of your audience. Put own it in the comments. All right, here we go. I'm going to go to the second one and the next mindset shift I want to share with you. Now, this one is one of my favorites. And some of you are going to be like, but this can't work for me. I don't know how to make this work. Okay, but I'm going to show you anyway. Let's see. This one is, I got to switch the slide. There we go. From one and done content to evergreen. So instead of you thinking about creating content just once so that it sits somewhere and just becomes stagnant and it's no longer relevant, it's time sensitive. I want you to really start thinking about how can I create more evergreen assets, meaning how can I create content that will still be relevant not only today, but it's relevant far into the future. Now, this does not mean that all of your content will be evergreen because many of us are in different spaces where there are shifts constantly happening. For instance, I've started doing more AI consultancy. And in that space, every day there's something new happening in AI, right? Every single day, if not more than daily, it's hourly, right? And so recognizing the fact that there will be a level of content that is not going to be evergreen, but will be something that you will refresh, right? We still need to be thinking about from our pillars, which we talk about content pillars in a lot of my different courses, the pillars, the foundations, the building blocks of what you talk about. There should be evergreen concepts. There should be concepts that are going to be true today as they will be true next year. Okay? So even the concepts that I'm teaching you right now in this moment, I believe that they will be effective not only in this moment in time, but 5 years from now, you still need to be thinking like an owner. And I see some owners. Yes, Victorious Valgal, I see you in there. Own it. Okay? So I want you to know that you're probably going to have a mixture of it, but you need to be intentional and purposeful and thinking about how can I create evergreen content that allows me to go from the one and done mentality to, wait a minute, I got this content over here that's going to be an asset for me. So let me pop that slide back up and we're going to dig a little bit deeper into mindset shift 2. Your content isn't just a post, it's an asset. So when I think about creating posts now on Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever, okay, I think about, first of all, how can I create something that is going to make an impact? What is the purpose and the objective of this specific post? And instead of me just, sometimes I'm going to have little short, quick quotes and snippets because I woke up that morning and I had a thought and I'm like, yes. The other day I had a thought, do something different. And a lot of times these messages are meant for me, but they're also meant for you. And so I know this and I pull those out and I pop them in there. But then there are also other posts that, again, are explaining concepts, that are long form posts, that are giving people an outline, that are sharing a listicle, right? Another example of one and done content versus evergreen. Evergreen content could be a blog post that happens to talk about one of your pillars. Okay, let me give you an example because some of you may not know what I'm talking about when I say pillars, and I won't go too deep, but we can do that. If you join one of my courses or programs, we got one coming up next week. But here's what I want to say when it comes to content pillars. When you're thinking about content pillars, I'll tell you, when I first started with live streaming with Stream Like a Boss and our Stream Bosses Academy, there were a couple of different pillars, and I won't give them all away, but I'll say this. One of the pillars was on-camera confidence. One of the pillars was content strategy, right? One of the pillars was conversion of lurkers into leads into clients. So in each of those pillars, those are foundational principles that are the structure. They're the foundation for everything I talk about when it comes to live streaming, right? And if that's the case, then within each of those buckets, within each of those pillars, there are different topics, subtopics that I can talk about. So that's my example when I say pillars, right? So when you're creating those pillars and you know what those are for your business and for your brand, when you're doing live streaming, when you're delivering podcasts, okay, then what ends up happening is you're able to pull more evergreen assets together. So you can start a blog. You can create a blog based on the foundational messaging that you're sharing. You can start to then look at how to repurpose your live streams into podcast episodes, into social media clips, into lead magnets that you're giving away. These are all things, for instance, that we're going to be teaching in the Multiplier method class that starts on Monday. The third thing is you can create a content library or leverage a content library in order to create these evergreen assets. And so then when you have this library that you've organized of different content and different topics and themes that you talk about, you always have something to cover. You never run out of ideas, and you get to build on the information that you started in your content library. And because of that, you get to also go back and refresh and update. And for those things that are one and done and that are time sensitive, you can move those out of the way when the deadline is done, and you can make sure that your evergreen assets still apply to what you're talking about. Because here's another thing I want to say that's not a part of this specific tip, but it kind of is, and that is, I will say this is the truth. And for those of you who know me, and for those of you who have been around the block, and I see a couple of you who definitely are tenured in this space, we know that over time, as you grow and you mature, your focus matures. Your focus may shift and change. And so having a library of content that's built on those structured pillars allows you the ability to be able to go in and say, okay, what has shifted and changed about where I am right now? What do I need to clean up and clean out? And what do I need to add? And that's even what I'm doing in this moment as I talk about these mindset shifts. I recognize that there was an opportunity to really enhance my brand. I still talk about live streaming. I still talk about video podcasting, but I need to tie in this aspect of the idea of being platform independent or platform proof, because that is a solid part of my value system and something I believe that has driven me to success, even with small communities. Even though you don't see me with the numbers that some have, I probably make just as much or more than many of the people that you see with vanity metrics. It's because I'm structured and I'm intentional. And that's what I'm talking to you about. So I'm not coming at you from a place of saying, hey, I just want you to go viral. No, I'm saying to you, I want you to have a sustainable brand, something that's going to be around for longer than 5 minutes. Okay, so if you want to work smarter but not harder, I want you to type in evergreen. That's your word, evergreen. Okay. All right, let's go into segment 3 and let's talk about section 3. Mindset shift 3. I got to move that slide for you. And here we go. So, mindset shift 3 is moving from content overload to strategic repurposing. Let me go to this other screen share so you can see more of that. I've got the icon in the way. That's okay. So, from content overload to strategic repurposing. Instead of us overloading ourselves with all this information and overloading other people with all this information, what we're doing is first of all, we're thinking like owners. We're thinking about how to create evergreen assets, but then we're also thinking about how can we repurpose strategically versus constantly being on the content hamster wheel. Let me tell you, I'm going to share a story with you about the difference, okay? Once upon a time, as a coach, I was out there and I was like, okay, so this platform said I have to create 3 posts a day, and this platform said I have to do 10. And this one, because Twitter actually was originally the way that I built my business way back when with the original Twitter. Okay. And y'all, it wasn't let me post a tweet a day and win. No, you had multiple posts a day that you had to create. We didn't even have AI tools available and accessible at that time. So you can imagine how much work that can be. And it gets to a point to where if you're not hiring out and outsourcing some of that work, you're constantly sitting at your desk. Like you're losing leg muscles, right? You're getting backaches because you're sitting at your desk and all you're doing is creating content to try to keep up. So when I talk about content overload, that's what I'm talking about, is thinking that you have to sit there and constantly create. Instead of doing that, what I want us to do is have a shift towards thinking, how can I go all in on a single piece of content once a week and leverage that into multiple forms that work for me 24/7? That is what the multiplier method is about. That's what we are teaching. That's what I'm talking about. It's not about you beating yourself up, messing with your health, mentally exhausting yourself. It's not about any of that, but these platforms will have you thinking that it is. And the other thing that will happen, and y'all, I'm just speaking the truth. So I know this might go a little bit deep. It might sound a little bit preachy, but I'm speaking this from my heart because I see it. I see people's eyes glazed over. I see people feeling like failures. Because here's what will happen is somebody out there in the social verse is telling you that is you. Hey, you're just not doing well enough. Your content just is not great. The way you look and your presence is just not great. Let me sell you this $10,000 program and I can make you great. And you spend the $10,000 and you still ain't great afterwards. You're still not getting the visibility. You're still not getting where you want to be. What I'm telling you is you don't have to choose that life. I don't choose that life anymore. I just don't. And I'm not buying into it's me, it's not you, right? I know, and you probably know too, that what you have to share and to offer is of value. Now, are there ways that you can improve the way you get it out there? Sure. But I want you to be strategic about it. I don't want you to be sitting there at your desk constantly typing away, even with AI in like AI is here and that's great. And I love it and I use it. And I built, like I said, a ton of custom GPTs for clients, for myself. I can do all those things, but I still want a life. We're not meant to live on the computer. We're meant to live real life. Like, this is real life, y'all. You got people around you that are missing you because you're constantly beating yourself down trying to get all this content out here. And what I'm saying is that is not the life. Let me pop up some comments real quick before I dive a little bit deeper into this one. I'm just going to share a few more tips on this shift 3, but I'm loving the comments here. Victorious Valgal had the fire emojis going. Yes, own it. Platform proof. Platform proof. Okay. That is exactly what we're talking about, Miss Quilts and Chocolate. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second, and I will highlight exactly what I mean. I'm seeing the word evergreen. I'm seeing it all up and down in these comments. Strategic repurposing, multiplier method. Yes. So I hope that this message is getting across. I think that it is. And if it is, then I'm making the impact that I want to make, because I want us to know. And I say us because I'm reminding myself every day of this too, that it is about us being able to live a life that we love, right? It's not doing this social media thing. It's not about us constantly being online. Even the live streams and the podcast, it's not about us constantly running and going and going and going. And it's really supposed to be, I thought it was supposed to be, to help support us in being able to do the things that we enjoy doing. But if you forget what your true purpose and your values are and your goal is, if you forget that, you can easily get caught in the trap. And so that's what this mindset shift is all about, is we want to move away from being trapped and we want to become owners. Okay, so let me go back here to this screen share and just show again. So a couple of things you can do to avoid content overload and start moving into the realm of strategic repurposing is that you can break down. If you are creating that singular live stream once a week, or that podcast once a week, or whatever it is you're creating that's your main content once a week, you have an opportunity to then break that down into at least 5+ different content formats. And I'm talking about, like, if you're doing tweets, sure. But other types of posts, you can do Blue Sky is one, Instagram carousels, reels. You can do any type of format that you choose to do that's going to be part of your strategy, but you need a strategy. You need to think about what that looks like. You can schedule that repurposed content to go out over time. And there are an abundance of tools that will do this, y'all. Oh my goodness. Missing Letter was around a long time ago, and it's still here today. And it is an absolute wonder at how it is able to take your content and to move it into multiple spaces for you over a period of time. You can set a schedule for it. Let me see what else. There's so many different ones. Repurpose.io is another tool that he is such an amazing guy, created years ago, and it's going strong now, and he's constantly adding new features to it. There are an abundance of tools that will help you to schedule out your content so that you do it once and now it continues to work for you because it's evergreen, right? So the other thing is that you can use AI tools. If you're not using any of the tools that I just mentioned, AI tools are out there. In fact, Repurpose.io, as well as almost every tool nowadays, has some element of AI to it, which is amazing because it gives you the ability to be able to really train this technology to mimic you, your habits, your personality, your style, the way you speak, right? All of those things can be mimicked through the appropriate use of AI. So if you're thinking about how to go from content overload to strategic repurposing, at the end, towards the end, I'll make sure I give you my live stream multiplier method information, and I'll give you a code you can use. Now, we're going to shut down registration tomorrow because I've been talking about this for 14 days. And we are starting Monday, and I have some things I need to get to folks in order to prepare. So we're cutting that off tomorrow if you're not already in. Let's go to number 4. And if you do have questions, I want you to pop those into the chat as well, okay? Pop them into the chat if there's anything you want to know a little bit more about, and we'll go do a deeper dive if we need to. Here's number 4, shift number 4. I like this one. And this kind of piggybacks a little bit off of number 3. So I want you to really get this one. And this one is go from random posting. Here, we'll move this way. Go from random posting to consistent automation. So this is about the fact that throwing spaghetti on the wall or guessing is not a strategy. You need to be able to show up consistently without burning out. And so if you're going from just random posting to automating how things get distributed, that means that you have created and developed a scheduling system. And so generally, this means you're going to have a tool of some kind. Now, I know you might be like, oh, I don't want to pay for yet another tool. But I will tell you, these type of tools, when you find the right one that works for you, it can literally save you money because it's saving you time. It can literally help in generating the income that you want because it's keeping you visible 24/7. A couple of tools that I like. I use Vista Social quite a bit. Vista Social was something that I was able to capture on AppSumo back when it was on sale for lifetime, which is always great. But even now, they do have monthly and annual pricing strategies or plans. Another way to do this, if you think about leveraging your live stream, right? Because I mentioned that in the last tip. Another one to think about is using Opus Clips. Opus is an excellent platform for being able to take that video and to clip it into smaller bites. Minvo Pro, Minvo Pro, is another excellent tool. And one of the things that I like about Minvo, not only does it break down your videos into these clips, but it can also give you quotes and images and other things, right? So it can break down what you're creating into smaller bites. Two other tools. One that I'm going to really heavily drive home when we talk next week is Cast Magic. Like that's at the center of all my repurposing when it comes to my content. But these type of tools will allow you to be able to repurpose your content. But when it comes to scheduling, you need a scheduling tool. So Buffer is a scheduling tool. Some people use, I was going to say Minvo. Minvo and Opus, they have a social calendar built in. That's why I brought those up for this one. They have a social media calendar built in. So you can create the clips, and then from within the native tool itself, you can go ahead and schedule them for the week. Simple, right? If you don't want to be stepping all over your own self, something like Vista Social really works well. Planning content in batches. So one of the things that I tend to do, and I don't always do this, I'm going to tell you, I give myself grace now. Okay. If you have a team, this probably will be easier for you. I give myself grace, but the majority of the time I do very well with this because I am about consistency and discipline. Sundays and sometimes Monday if I'm late, but Sunday afternoon I sit down and I take an hour to an hour and a half and I just say, okay, let me go ahead and batch this all. Let me schedule all this content out and be done for the week. Think about ways that you can batch. You can batch create if you're doing social media reels, right? And TikTok shorts, YouTube shorts. If you're doing any of those things, you can batch create. So you can set aside a time and say, okay, I'm going to get my camera here. I'm going to have several shirts, several different, pieces of jewelry that I'm just going to switch out for the next 30 minutes. I'm going to drive home these 60-second clips. Whatever is a part of your structured plan, what I'm saying to you is you have an opportunity to create a schedule for yourself, to get it done and to distribute it on a schedule. And that is going to be your best bet to be able to get more done. But go back to number one. Go back to number one and remember that you own your own content and you own your audience, and your email is going to be critical and essential, and your communities and talking to people in the communities that you're building is more important than even the social post. So it's easier for you to retain a client that believes in you than it is to get a new one. I just want to make sure I say that. You get what I'm saying? So if you've got a community of people over here in email, but you're spending all your time on social media posting, trying to get new attention, but you forgot all about them because you haven't emailed them in more than, like, it's been a month, that's a problem. Prioritize your existing communities, your existing email list, because that is the ownership mindset. Okay, let me get this question in here. I love it. Let's see. Question: have you created a video of all the tools in your toolkit, like what you use and what you pay for everything? Actually, that's an excellent question, and I actually have an Airtable spreadsheet inside of my Stream Bosses Academy, and it's accessible to my Academy members because they're always asking, what's the tool for this and what should I use for that? And so I've created this whole reference list. Now, here's what I'll say: even if you're not in the Academy, if you ever, Danny Marie, if you ever have a question about a specific tool, if you're looking into something, if you're like, I need to be able to do this, what could I use? Just shoot me a DM. If I can answer quickly, then I will. And if I can answer in any of these live streams about a specific tool, y'all, most of you know, if you've been around for a while, you know I freely will share that with you. So feel free to ask if there's something specific you're looking for. But my list is so long that I literally had to create a spreadsheet, which I also encourage my members to do. I also encourage my clients. As a matter of fact, I was talking with Patty Farmer the other day. We were at this event, an in-person event called the Dames, and she was sharing with people about me, and she was saying, yeah, one of the first things she did, which I was really excited about, which at the time she hated me for doing it, but one of the first things we did together when she was my client is I said, now what I want you to do before we even meet is I'm going to send you a spreadsheet, and I want you to make a list of every single app. You can do it, or you can have your team member do it. Every single digital app you have that you own right now, whether you're paying for it or you own it outright because it was a lifetime deal. Whatever it is that you have, I want to know what you have. Because then we were able to audit that list and say, okay, you're saying you need to be able to do this. You can use these 3 things together in tandem and this will work. You don't need to go and get another tool, right? So yeah, I'm all about making sure that we do those audits and that we keep track of those. But that's an excellent question. I'm only asking so I can go watch it. Yeah, if there's something specific, you let me know. You let me know if you need anything. I'm here for you. Okay. And thank you. Sue Ann said connection and conversation. Yes. Okay, let's get to the next one. So the last one I left you with was number 4, and that was go from random posting to consistent automation. So if we start thinking like that, I want you to type in automate if you are ready to automate by using scheduling tools, setting up nurture sequences, planning content. And if you're ready to leverage technology to automate some of this stuff you're doing, type that word into the comments. Okay, here's our number 5, and then we're going to number 6. 5 is, this is a mindset shift, y'all. Okay, I want to say this loud and clear. Likes don't pay the bills. Your likes don't pay bills. Your likes don't pay bills. Your likes don't pay the lights. Okay? Do y'all hear me? Like, your lights are not being paid by people liking your stuff. So we need to go ahead and get this mindset shift right now that we can get right on over the fact that we don't have 1,000 likes on our post. Because the people that do like it, are we engaging with them such that we're creating and nurturing a relationship and a connection so that they trust us and that they feel the need to work further with us Are we building on that relationship that we've started because they're in the comments and they're engaging with us? All of you who are in here right now, we're engaging in this chat. I don't have 100,000 followers on my YouTube channel or anywhere else. But the followers and the people who I see as my connections, that I see as my responsibility, I am big on engaging with them. If you send a note to me, if you comment on my video channel, I'm going to respond because that is my responsibility. Because I'm thinking like someone who is about value metrics, not vanity metrics. And that is the shift. So I want you to make that shift right now from thinking about vanity, vanity, vanity. I want to go viral. Okay, yeah, you can go viral. But okay, y'all know I've shared this story before. I'm going to share it right now because I got to share this because it's a perfect example. I went on TikTok. I'm going to make it quick, but you're going to really get this. I went on TikTok and I was like, hey, I'm going to see what I can do with TikTok. And so I was posting my, content thinking, hey, this is good content. It's going to help somebody. It's going to teach somebody. And it was getting nowhere. I wasn't building up nothing. And I decided, okay, I want to try to hit this 1,000 followers goal so that I can live stream in TikTok if I choose to do that. Since I'm a live streamer, I want to be able to do that so that I can share with people how the live stream system works there. Turned out I didn't end up doing that, but that's further down the road. So that was my goal. And I said, okay, well, how am I gonna do this? And how can I do it quickly? So at the time there was a boat trend. Some of you have heard me tell this story, but if you haven't heard it, you're gonna really understand what I mean when I say vanity to value. There was a boat trend where people were getting on a boat. Don't ask me. I don't know why. But there's this boat. It's an animated graphic. And you were putting yourself on the boat. And then you were writing some type of quote. And it had the same music. And everybody was using it. And everybody was on this trending thing. And so what was happening is I was getting a lot of people. Like literally within a couple of hours, I had the 1,000 followers because people were liking the post, the boat post. Because it was a trending post. The problem with that is that I would say probably a good 85 to 90% of those people could care less about my real content where I talk about real things that I think matter. They didn't care about that. They just wanted me to do some more boats and some dances and some entertainment. And I'm like, but I'm not your show monkey. Like that's not what I do. That's not my happy place. And I'm not saying that everybody that has gifts of being able to dance and sing and entertain, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. What I'm saying is that's not really my brand. I did it to see what would happen. And the experiment ended up working. Like that's what the algorithm is trained to teach people to do, is to follow things that don't necessarily always help them, but things that maybe make them feel a certain way, feel joy in the moment, feel angry in the moment. Meta tends to push and drive people to have fights and conflict on certain posts. I know a good friend of mine who recently recognized that quickly when she posted something that she thought was going to be positive, and it turned into like a cat fight in the chat. It's because Meta was driving people to that emotion. So the emotional content, the stuff that makes people dance and sing and happy and joyful in the moment, in a fleeting moment, that's the kind of stuff that we've been trained to go and follow and to like and engage with. But I'm thinking on a deeper, different level. And honestly, y'all, I'm just being real. I just don't care to try to pretend that I'm something I'm not. So if it means that I will forever be under 100,000, I'm okay with that. Because I believe in value over vanity. Now, this may not be all of you. And here's the thing about viral. I think there is a place for viral. I think the fact that it got me to the goal, that's a win. But ultimately, my purpose is not to just have people come into my post and love what I do because I'm entertaining them. I'm an educator. I know who I am. So you have to know who you are. You have to know what your brand is about. And you need to be confident and comfortable in the fact that it may mean something different for you because the algorithms may not be training people to enhance their minds, to grow their knowledge, to become experts, true experts in fields, right? It's training us differently. It's one of the reasons why I had to tell my 17-year-old, I need you to read more. I need you to get off of some of this social media. I need you to read nonfiction books. I need you to understand, things about climate and meteorology and biology and the things that you want to get into for your life skills. I need you to have more access to other information because you're not going to get it on social. So you just need to be confident and comfortable in that knowledge, which again takes me back to we don't have to be platform dependent. We can leverage and use the tools that are available to us in social to get to certain goals. But then we need to make sure that we go all in on who we are and what we know we're meant to do, because somebody needs your knowledge. Somebody needs to benefit from who you truly are and what you know. And it may not be on the socials. It's probably going to be in your own communities that you own. Now, there may be some that disagree, and that's okay. But I'm just speaking what I believe is truth and from my own experience. And that's all we can do, right? Let me go ahead and put some stuff in here. Let's pop up some comments because I'm loving it. Oh my gosh, automate, yes. So used to just improving or improvising, even though I automate clients. Yes, ma'am. We do it for other people so easily, don't we? But we have to make sure that we're also doing it for ourselves. Amen to that. Likes do not pay the bills. Preach it and teach it. Pass the plate, Sharice. Knowledge bomb. Likes don't pay the lights. They don't, y'all. They just don't. They just don't. What's up, Get Hired Strategist? That is Nicolette in the house. Evening. What's up, Kombucha? Evening to you as well. I feel that. Oh my God, I remember the sister friend boat trend. Girl, that sister. Okay, and I was like, why are we getting on boats? I don't know. I still to this day don't understand why. I mean, it worked to get me to that number, but in the end, those people were really not my people. Kombucha, I don't get to catch your streams live often, but watching them on the replay and getting so much inspiration. I am grateful that you are here and thankful, Kombucha, that it is of help to you, because that's what matters to me more. I would rather know that from you than to know that you have simply liked something. Sue Ann said, I love you saying that balance can include offline. Newsflash to some, and also value over vanity. Yes, and this is why in 2025, y'all, I have really prioritized having more in-person connections as much as I can, right? I'm still an introvert at heart. I am. But I am strategic about where I choose to be and where I place myself. And I want to be in places where I feel valued. It's important to me to be in places where I feel safe. And it's important for me to create those spaces for others, which is why I create my communities the way that I do. So anybody, for instance, in our Stream Bosses Academy, in some of our courses, they will tell you, Tanya vets her clients just like they vet her. It's true. Because I feel that it is a responsibility. I feel that if you have chosen to be in the spaces where I am, you are my responsibility. It's important to me to create spaces for you where you feel whole and you feel well and you feel supported. So let's go to the next one. So vanity versus value, y'all. That's one of those mindset shifts. This is number 5. So drop value if you're done chasing vanity metrics. And again, you may have a singular goal or purpose you're trying to reach, like you're trying to get to a certain number of subscribers or follows or something like that, like I did with the boat trend. But that should not be long term. That should be an exception, not the rule. If you have a business and if you truly are trying to make an impact in people's lives, you want to attract people who want to invest in your services, programs, and products and get the benefit of those things for themselves so that they transform their lives and the lives of the people who they care for. Okay, and then the final shift, y'all, is this one. From isolation to community building. Because your brand is not just about you, it's about the people that you serve. It's about the people that you serve. And so just like we were just saying, creating connection spaces where your audience can connect with each other, encouraging participation and fostering discussion. This is one of the reasons why I absolutely love live streaming, and I will always do it. I hope I can be doing live streams when I'm 70 and 80 years old. I hope I can do that because to me, it's an excellent way, whether it's a live stream or a podcast, it's an excellent way to help people to engage in discussion. And we have to have more conversations, y'all. We have to, because there's so much divisiveness right now. There's so much division, and it's a large part because there are people who would choose to keep us separated. And sometimes, honestly, we have to separate ourselves for our mental health and sanity, and that's okay too. But the more we can foster positive discussions and relationships, the better off we as a society will be. Show up authentically, be present, and foster real connections. All of these things. So going from isolation to being a community builder is a mindset shift that I really had to learn. Because again, I am an introvert. I think I've said that. and it's not naturally my instinct to community build. I thought I would be horrible at it. In fact, I was when I would try to build these different like Facebook groups and stuff in the past. But part of it is because I didn't have the right mindset. I didn't understand what the goal was. And the end game is that it's not about just you growing your business. The end game is that it's about you affecting people in such a way, again, that you're helping them to transform their lives and the people who they influence. And if you can do that for them, the more people you do that for, the more beneficial it is for you as well. And so it just becomes this cycle of goodness, of positive energy that is happening because you are reaching out and you are impacting, you're making an impact. So don't ever think that what you have to say and that your message is not worthy. You just haven't found your community yet. Stay focused, show up, keep showing up. Keep showing up. Keep sharing what you believe and what you know. Keep learning so that what you know is accurate. Okay? Because one thing we don't want to do is be out here spreading inaccurate information. Okay? All right. Let me go ahead and pop in some of these comments and we'll get ready to close it out. And I will go through a really quick refresh of all 6 of our tips. Let's see. Yes, I haven't done live streaming ever since Periscope. Oh, wow. Periscope. Girl, that's way back. So now, look, Sharice, this is time. And if it's not a live stream, a podcast can absolutely be beneficial. Yay for the introverts. Woo. I know. Woo, woo. I love people, but in spurts. I need a sprinkle at a time. Me too. Why do you think I don't do this daily? I am very intentional even about that. Danny Marie said, keep showing up. Yes. And I see you. I see what you're doing. And with your generation, you have to be a guidepost. Keep showing up. Don't give up. Keep going. Yes, Chris Stone. Great stuff, Tanya. We got to keep showing up. We do. We must, because it is our duty to show up. It is. I want to quickly go through a recap. I'll take you through all of these real fast here. Let me pull up my notes, and that way I don't have to do each of the slides since I didn't do a singular slide this time. The first tip that we talked about was going from platform dependence to audience ownership. So making sure that we understand that social media is rented land. You need to own your audience through platforms such as email. So owning your own email list, building your own communities, and making direct connections, whether they're in person or online, wherever they are. Shift number 2 is going from one and done content to evergreen assets. So not thinking just in terms of how can I do this short term, real quick thing, but how can I create something that's going to have meaning long after today, long after this moment, because those are the things that we can then convert into repurposed material that continues to work for us 24/7 and keep us visible, which is shift number 3, going from content overload where we're constantly creating something new and instead being more strategic about repurposing with intention. Because we have created these evergreen assets, that becomes easier for us to do. The next tip number 4, is go from random posting and just throwing spaghetti on the wall to see what's going to stick to consistent automation. I went to meet with my girlfriend, Sherry Sutton, in her new podcast lab today across town. And one of the things she said, which I thought was really intriguing, she said, one thing I can say about your posts is you're always consistent. I know what you talk about. You're very clear about your expertise. That's what you want people to say about you. So instead of the randomness that's all over the place, get to a place where you have created those content pillars so that you have consistency in the way in which you're delivering and distributing your content. The message is similar across all the spaces that you're sharing it. The next one, tip 5, is go from vanity metrics thinking to being more value metrics driven. We want more value. We want to show up authentically. We want to focus on how am I making an impact? How am I serving? How am I serving? Not how many likes did I get? Because likes don't pay. What? The light bill. They ain't paying. It's not doing anything for your light bill. And then the final tip or shift 6 is go from isolation thinking to it's just me by myself doing this to how can I build community and affect more than just myself? How do I serve others and not just focus internally on how well I'm doing, but how am I creating a community of people and building on the relationships that I have connected people to in order to grow so that we all do well, we all succeed. Okay, not doing a huge push, but I'm going to say, if you are interested in joining Livestream Multiplier Method, that's where we're going to be talking about our repurposing strategy. And I have some material I'm going to be sending out to folks tomorrow that are already in the space. So if you would like to join, let me type this in here because I didn't even type it in here. That's how much I didn't think about putting together a commercial or anything, but I'm going to type this in here. It is Livestream. Hold on. I know it's long, but livestreammultipliermethod.com. Okay. So I'm going to pop this up if I can. There we go. We'll make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. There is a code. Okay. So if you want to use the code, since this is the first launch of this particular class, the code that you want to use will be on the shopping cart. So when you go to pay, look at the top. I think it's CHAL, CHAL 50 off or something like that. But put the correct code in there so that you get $50 off because it's the first launch. It won't be that when we deliver this again in 3 months. It's going to be regular price or higher. So livestreammultipliermethod.com. Go check it out. And if you want to be in the space with me, we're hanging out next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evening for about an hour and 15 minutes each session. And I'm teaching everyone in there my multiplier method. So I would love to see you there if it's for you. Okay. All righty, folks. Let me double check and make sure I don't have any questions. And I'm going to remind you to go ahead, if you learned anything, to like, subscribe, and follow, and all that stuff, all the things. Let me put this on here. Okay, I love these comments, so I can't end until I put some of these on here because I just appreciate you all so much for this. The Dr. Vibe Show said, the first time I've been watching you live on YouTube, you're great. Thanks for the inspiration. I have a number of takeaways. Thank you. I love it. Sue Ann said, keep showing up. Yes, you too. You too. Amazing value as always. Yes, indeed. That helped me build my brand. The consistency. Yes. And Nicolette, you are going so many places. You're doing so much. I'm so proud. Proud to be a partner with you. Cherie said, this is Powerhouse Next Level. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. No, thank you for being here. Dr. Vibe Show, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate you. Look, y'all, it's been my pleasure to serve you in this way, as always. I love to be here when I can on Thursdays. I'm here most Thursdays, and I just immensely enjoy teaching and sharing and educating and entertaining in my own way, right? Just not with a dance or song, but and if I can be of service to you in other ways, please reach out on my website at streamlikeaboss.tv. You will find any information you need to know about me, my bio, if you need a podcast guest. If you want to be on my show, I'm going to start sending out invitations because I have a whole list of people, a wait list that I have got to dig into for Q2 of this year because we're going to start guest shows again. So very excited about that. But thank you for spending time with me this evening and talking more about how we can become platform proof, meaning that we can create content that's still of value regardless of where it's located. We don't have to be held hostage anymore by algorithms. We choose not to be. That's all I got for you this evening. Have a wonderful evening and a great weekend. And I will see you next week in the stream.